Hi, Sourav. Thank you
Hey,
for
hi
joining
Abha.
in today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Sourav, firstly, huge congratulations on your 770. So,
Thank
how do
you.
you feel like? What was your first reaction when that score actually flashed on the screen?
Oh, I did not get Q51. No, I'm just kidding. I was super happy, to be honest.
Hmm.
Because it has been a journey for me, and like this was my second attempt because the first one, obviously, there was some external influences which we are going to get into a little bit later
Hmm.
on. So, I mean, after that, it was more of a, okay, now I can breathe. Let's
Yeah.
breathe for a little
Okay.
while.
Yes. Yes. So, Saurabh, how did it all start? Like, we know that it's been a good amount of months that have really gone into this preparation, right? So, what was the time when you actually made a decision that consciously from now on, I'm going to start preparing seriously and dedicating a certain kind of hours to GMAT preparation?
Okay, so last year in 2021, I was just thinking about, okay, no, I have been doing whatever I have been doing
Hmm.
for quite some time, like almost 3 years or something. Then I thought, okay, no, what can be the next step? For me, it's always been, the tagline of never settle quite applies to me. I don't know. So
Hmm.
I'm trying to look forward to like whatever comes after everything, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so I thought, okay, let's prepare for GMAT because it does open quite a few doors. Like you can go for an MBA, maybe you can use that score for something else. So, like you
Yeah.
do have a couple of options. So I thought,
Yeah.
let's just take the GMAT first. So
Hmm.
I decided I'll be preparing for it in June last year. And then I think in July, I actually started preparing a little bit. So I
Hmm.
downloaded a couple of, free resources from different websites. I
Okay.
looked into GMAT Club, and then what I realized is um, what I need is structure. I
Hmm.
realized it at that point. Again, a little bit about my background. So I'm a statistics student all
Okay.
throughout.
Hmm.
So I have a very quant heavy background. So I
Yeah.
thought, okay, quant should be easy,
Hmm.
but knowing the concepts and applying them really consistently over that like short period of time are way two different things. So
Hmm.
then I
Yeah.
realized, okay, I have to work on one, maybe not as much, but I do have to work on it.
Hmm.
So once I realized I need a structure because, after 3 years of full time working and getting into that studying fully, properly studying sort of mindset is not really easy.
Yeah.
So then I started, researching for different websites or
Hmm.
different course providers such as yourself, and I took your
Yeah.
free courses and just thought, okay, let's just go with e-GMAT because of your ratings and everything. So
Okay.
I started in July, but the thing was, I was switching jobs. I
Okay.
was moving different cities and everything. So
Hmm.
it kind of hit a snafu for about 4 or 5 months. So whatever I learned in July, August, I thought, I mean, that wasn't like really not going to cut it. So
Hmm.
again,
Yeah.
started preparing so my proper preparation started this year in the month of February,
In
properly.
February. Okay.
Yes.
So February was the time that you started seriously getting into it and you were in the right
Yeah. Yeah.
mindset as well, right? Okay.
Yes.
So sort of on a daily basis, because you mentioned that you were working throughout this journey, right?
Yeah.
you're not taken particularly a break off. So what kind of hours were you really committing in for the practice and how did your normal day look like?
Okay. So I have studied in boarding schools and colleges and institutes all throughout. So I know the value of a good routine.
Hmm.
Uh, and I'm quite an early riser. So I
Okay.
wake up like really early in the morning, somewhere around 6 or something. Not that early, but still I do. So morning 2 hours I dedicated it for studying, like a
Hmm.
proper, like whatever you guys told me, I blindly followed it.
Hmm.
That's what I thought was the best approach for me because like sometimes you need someone else's opinion because you guys know what you guys are doing, right? I read from blogs, I went through your courses, but in the evening I dedicated 1 hour each day for practice. But that is where I actually, got into that exploration mindset. So
Hmm.
let's say for a particular type of question, CR paradox questions, that
Yeah.
comes like very like late
Yeah.
when you get into your preparation stages.
Hmm.
But if I encountered CR paradox questions, even before I actually knew what type of questions those were, I still attempted it. So I
Hmm.
was mostly
Okay.
following the GMAT clubs daily error log questions. So you get four verbal
Okay.
questions, four quant questions. So I was doing that on a daily basis,
Okay.
like each and every day. And like sometimes those hard questions, you will find
Hmm.
uh, a collection of questions. So I started doing that even when I did not actually know what those things were. So I
Hmm.
attempted them, got it right, fine, doesn't matter. Got it wrong, again, doesn't really matter. I went through the expert solutions. So
Yeah.
I followed this principle of exploration in the evening and
Hmm.
exploitation in the morning.
Hmm.
I'm calling it exploitation because I'm leveraging someone else's knowledge over there.
Yeah.
And this is the time I'm doing something completely on my own. So
Hmm.
what actually helped me is, I had a little bit of idea about the different type of questions. So when I got into e-GMATs, that particular module, so I
Yeah.
could connect the two dots better. Like
Okay.
it helped my
Understanding.
refining of my knowledge. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Although I know a lot of people say, okay, don't do too many questions, but
Hmm.
I felt this was the approach which was working for me. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I did it.
True.
Like it did not matter whether it was weekend or weekday. I studied 3 hours each and every day.
Okay. Okay. So, Saurabh, when you said that, you were studying 3 hours every day, and we are looking from like month wise, from February you started, and July was your first attempt, right? 1st of July,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So, when you're saying 3 hours, it takes a lot of, diligence to actually get up and maintain that routine. So, were you doing
Yeah.
something extra, like just out of the box? Were you doing some activity that actually relaxed you out? Because, being a working professional and then studying the remaining hours, was there something that you were really doing extra? Or did you take a break sometimes and, just got back with a fresh mind? How did you go about with the mindset?
Uh, so in this respect, I would say my job really helps.
Okay.
So I work in quite a research focused team.
Okay.
Yeah. uh, so that research focused mindset always has been with me, and at the same time, uh, I don't know. I sometimes go and play football, go to the
Hmm.
gym. Maybe that helps.
Okay. Okay. So there was once in a while you would do certain activities just to release off that pressure as well, right? Maybe.
I guess so. Those are actually quite part of my normal routine.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not really something I'm deviating from my
True,
routine.
true. So you maintain that normality as well, right? You were doing
Yes, yes,
everything, but apart from that, you made sure that you're dedicating this 3 hours for your studies also.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, which earlier I was just playing FIFA and all those kinds of things. I was just, okay, now let's just dedicate this to study hours.
Okay. And sort of when you said that in the morning you used to take out that time for the structured approach, right? While you were going through the course. So could you help us understand what kind of stages you went through? Like I understand there are subsections, then you were doing the call questions also, right? So did you
Yeah,
follow the stages as it was suggested that you did the course first, you understood the concepts, and then you moved to solving the questions?
again, this part morning, I did not like try to,
Okay.
change anything which you guys suggested. I
Okay.
followed to the T. Whatever you
Okay.
guys suggested, I would be following that.
Hmm.
But sometimes, as I mentioned, right, blogs and something, you will see a couple of things, right? A couple of nuances are there, like instead of versus whereas versus
Yeah.
although. So
Hmm.
these
Hmm.
kinds of things you don't really always get out of the course. You
Yeah.
sometimes get out of the questions.
Hmm. Hmm.
You get and a couple get those out of blogs and everything written over there.
Okay.
So for those, I just googled it and found whatever like
Material you
was
could.
best for me. Yeah,
Okay.
and I am quite habituated in taking like a very diligent sort of a notes.
Hmm. Okay.
So I maintained proper notes all
Okay.
throughout. Yeah.
All throughout the course. It's okay.
Yes.
Okay. And sort of we all know that mocks play a major role, right? Because at the end, you know the concepts, you have done the course, right? So how many mocks did you actually take? And how were you really, was there a particular strategy you were following for the mocks?
Okay. So e-GMAT offers 5 mocks, right?
Hmm.
One you
Yeah.
take at the beginning to establish your benchmark.
Hmm. Right.
Uh, then after you're done with the courses and test readiness stage, which is the stage 3, I guess.
Yes.
So you actually start attempting the mocks.
Okay.
And once you enroll for GMAT, you actually get to practice tests.
Yes.
So these are
Yes.
the mocks that I actually did, all these 7 mocks.
Okay.
Now, after when I started like giving all those mocks and everything, I I think my scores at that point became 720, 710. Although my scholarinium quiz and
Hmm.
accuracy levels were quite high, which you
Yeah.
actually mentioned, pointed out. Ki,
Hmm.
just slow down, think what's going on, just do
Hmm.
it. So what I realized is I was trying to focus on the timing aspects of it, as in like if you divide 65 minutes for verbal by 36
Yeah.
questions,
Yeah.
I think it comes out to 1.8 to 83
Prox. Yeah.
minutes,
Yeah.
1.83 minutes. So I was trying to stick to that limit. No, I have to do it within 2 minutes or
Hmm.
those kinds of things. But that's not really how it works.
Hmm.
Like sometimes you will get a little bit faster, sometimes you will get a little bit slower. And
Hmm.
at the same time, when you are like when you're attempting a test, the first few questions, you will be taking a little bit more time because you need to get into that
The zone.
proper flowing mindset,
Yes.
yes, the zone
Yes.
itself. So like after those 2 tests, I realized, okay, no, this approach of like, sticking to the time is not working. If
Hmm.
something happens, I'll just do the later ones very quickly. I'm quite fine with it. So that's how I
Okay.
just changed it a little bit. I forgot about the time. Okay, let's just worry about it. Let's just do the questions
Hmm. Hmm.
properly.
So the timing is something that you realize in the mocks itself, right? That
After the third mock, I realized I don't really need to worry about the timing anymore.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you actually attempted the e-GMAT mocks and two official mocks as well before
Yes.
your exam. And when did you start taking these mocks? Once you were completely done with all the subsections and you had the conceptual knowledge?
Yes. Yes. Completely done with everything.
Hmm.
Like again, as I mentioned, I followed everything you guys said to the T,
Hmm. Okay. Yeah.
that portion.
Hmm.
Like everything that you guys told me, when to take the mocks, when to take, you know, some other like focus quizzes or everything. I followed whatever actually you said. You
Hmm.
were my mentor. So like whatever you said, I followed it.
Hmm. So, sort of help me. Like we knew that you are prepared, right? And you went ahead and you had the mocks. You were doing quite well, and then came the 1st of July, where you took the first attempt, right?
Yeah.
And then I read a mail, and I'm like, okay, something has gone wrong. So you scored a 700 that time in your first attempt. And I know it was
Yes.
not just because of the fact that you didn't have that potential. It was mainly the other factors that many people really just ignore and they really don't think about.
Yes.
Yeah. So what
So
went wrong that day?
I okay, so the thing was one very big problem with a couple of cab companies in Bangalore has really crept up. Sorry, there is a train going and it's just nearby.
Okay.
Okay, so when I got into the cab, the person said, "No, I won't go. You need to pay me extra." And therein you start faltering, like going through the paces in the
Yeah.
morning and everything. Then you like that sort of broke my concentration a bit, I would say.
Hmm.
Like I was a little bit not particularly rattled, but
Yeah.
it just did not help me.
Hmm.
Then when I reached over in the test center, although I was 1 hour early, I saw I forgot my passport, which
Hmm.
is the ID which I need. Now
Yeah.
therein, like it completely went off the rails for me. Uh,
Hmm.
my friend downloaded me the passport,
Passport.
but
Yeah.
at the same time, I was in no shape of mine to actually attempt the test at that point in time.
Yeah.
Asked the test center people to give me a little bit of time before I attempt the exam, and I
Hmm.
still had 20 more minutes till my
Okay.
scheduled time.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
forced me to attempt the exam right then, like before time, with that sort of things. And at that moment, my brain basically just shut off, and I was just going through, the auto mode of sorts. Like
Hmm.
I was just okay, no, this question can be this one.
Hmm. Okay.
So
So when you
700.
yeah, I know, but don't worry, we got through that phase. So when you wrote back, we had a shift, right? Okay, now let's see, dig in deeper, what happened, right? So what did you apply? Like, what was your strategy after, you got that 700? You reached out to us, definitely. We helped you with that. So what
Yeah.
was your mindset? Because see, you got a 700, that's okay, but after that, your next attempt, you are straight up to a 770. right? So
My mocks were at 770, 780, right?
yes,
All
yes,
my so my mocks, like last four mocks of mine were 770, 780, 770, 780.
yeah.
So my mocks were there already.
Hmm. So from
So
your
the
mocks, you could really
yeah,
make out like it was a clear representation of what, your real GMAT. You were
uh,
confident in
I
that.
guess
So
so. I would say I was confident. I would say I was okay. No, I can give the example. No, like
you
not
were
really
ready.
that.
You were feeling
Yes,
prepared.
I would. Yes, prepared to attempt for it.
Hmm.
But I think one thing you actually asked me for was the ESR, and then you said, okay, like, see, there is nothing wrong with the ESR. It's all over the places. Like there
Yeah.
is nothing particularly wrong with your attempt. It's all over the places. You just like was a particularly bad thing. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, that can happen, right? That's particularly fine.
Yeah.
But after I booked my exam, the second one, and I think you can give one exam every 16 days.
Yes. Yes.
So I booked again on 19th, 18 days later. The
Hmm.
first thing I did was go back home because I knew for a fact I won't be facing any of those logistical mistakes slash challenges at home
Yeah.
because I'll be taking the car. My mom will be saying, "Have you taken your passport?" Like those kinds of things.
Yes.
Like family does play a lot of role over there in those minor
True.
sort of things. So
Yeah.
it really helps. So
Hmm.
that's the first thing I did. Go back home, attempt the test from there.
Hmm.
And at the same time, in the last couple of days, I attempted a couple of quizzes which you mentioned, right?
Yeah. A mixed quizzes.
But
Yeah.
yes, more so than that, I was actually again going back to GMAT Club, and there
Yeah.
you find those 100 hardest CR questions, 100 hardest SC questions,
Hmm.
the hardest quant questions available. I was just doing those things.
Okay.
Again, like when I was doing those things, again, one more thing is what I realized in my first attempt, that mask thing, it's a
Yeah.
little bit of a nuisance.
Hmm.
So, like before my second attempt, I actually started preparing wearing the mask itself
Okay. Okay.
just to get myself acclimatized with the entire process.
Okay. So the mask thing actually came into picture after the first attempt, is it?
Yes, I
Okay.
I mean it was a little bit of a nuisance in my first one,
First
but
attempt.
it
Yeah.
wasn't really not something like I needed to take care of. I thought, okay,
Yeah.
I mean I can do it. Why not do it?
Yeah. True. True.
Yeah.
So, sort of when you decided on the date the first time, right? Because this is a very common question that everyone has in their mind. When do we actually go ahead and book the date? When do we actually know that we are ready? And I know this can be subjective because it can vary from person to person. So, when was your point? Like, when did you feel like, okay, I think I can book the date?
I thought I was like ready a little bit earlier than I was actually ready. I
Hmm.
think you pointed that one out. Ki, again, slow down, take a break, as in like
Hmm.
put a break and just see these things through. So like when you are feeling when you are feeling confident, not really confident, but in the sense that, okay, no, I can get through these things,
Hmm.
in the sense that, the time is not an issue for me anymore. I have my own timing matrix of sorts. I know I can, like, even if I take, say, 20 minutes to do the first 10 questions or 9 questions, doesn't like you are at that point, ki, okay, if even if I take 20 minutes to do the first 8 questions, I will still manage the entire thing.
Yeah.
When you
Hmm.
are in that sort of a mindset, I think you should be attempting that, attempting the achievement because now okay, it's fine. I can do it. I will
Okay.
just get through this.
Yes, true. And sort of what about the last days of your prep, right? Because the last 3, 4 days, I think it gets the nerves on, and you can be a little in the panicky side or you can be very
Yeah.
relaxed, right? So it can be either ways for people and it differs. So, what was it for you? What did you do in the last 3 days?
So last 3 days, I think in the third last day, I attempted another mock,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
was the which was the mock I had already attempted.
Yes.
It's just to, sit through the rigorous 3 hours thing, just to pace myself up for those 3 hours thing. It,
Yeah.
it was nothing about the attempts or the accuracy or anything. It was just
Hmm.
to make myself, okay, no, I can sit through this one. I think I
Hmm.
again scored a 780 over there.
Yeah.
But that was something that I had already
Already
attempted. So
done
the
before.
scores, yeah,
Right.
the scores
Right.
don't really matter much.
Yeah.
The next day, I actually did nothing, absolutely nothing.
Okay.
I just took a break, played a little bit of games, that kind of stuff itself.
Hmm.
And then the last day, I went through the error logs, but I did not go through the error logs in a very rigorous sort of a manner, which
Okay.
a lot of us are, like accustomed to doing.
Hmm.
I went through those error logs just to see, okay, no, if this is this, this is this.
Yeah.
Like you get into that sort of a format, like when you're
Yes.
approaching the CR questions or like quant things, okay, if this happens, this will be happening.
Hmm.
So that sort of a revision going in my mindset. And on the last day itself, what I tried to do was in the morning, like, so I have this habit of going over the entire course in my mind.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So I tried to play back through the entire thing in my mind. It does not really take you that much of a time, 5 minutes or something, to go through the entire verbal and quant course. It's just basically, okay, no, in this page I had this, in this page I had this. So
Yeah.
like it's more of a like visual mapping sort of a thing that you do in your mind.
Hmm.
So just to get myself into the spot itself.
Yes. Okay. So I think the last 3 days you didn't put yourself under too much pressure, right? From what I'm realizing, you gave yourself you attempted that mock, you were in the right
Yeah.
mindset, just tested yourself if you had the right stamina to sit through the entire duration. And then the
Yeah.
last 2 days you kept it light. You just revised the things, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So sort of let's get into now the GMAT. Right now, here you are,
Sure.
you are going for your second attempt. So what was your approach on the test? Like, what was the sequence that worked out for you, and how did you go about approaching the questions? Was there a particular method that you had already set that worked for you?
Uh, so one thing I mentioned earlier, right? Like when you're attempting an exam, the first few questions you're going to take some time to get into the zone,
Yeah.
and I think it's quite the norm is to attempt the verbal, then the quant, then the IR, then the AWA. I
Hmm.
mean
Hmm.
that's most of us do, but what I
Yeah.
realized is it's better for me to go with the quants itself because quant again, I have a quant background, I know
Yes.
quants. So let's just do that first, right? Because I don't really need to put that much of a huge effort into it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't mean to sound anything
No, no,
dramatic, but
it's
I don't,
yeah.
yeah, it's a little bit easier for non-natives to attempt the quant than the verbal, right?
Yes.
So I thought,
Hmm.
okay, let's just do the quant because you will be getting into that flow. So by the time you actually get to verbal, you are in a good stage,
Hmm.
right? So that was the first change I made. And at the
Hmm.
same time, I mentioned, right, that going through the entire course in my mind,
Yes.
like
Yes.
trying to think through things. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing that I did. That was the only change. The
Okay.
second attempt, again, I mentioned it was back in my hometown. So
Yes.
none of the logistical problems.
Yes, you were all sorted this time.
Yes, also at the same time, one thing I did was the day, I think on the penultimate day, I
Hmm.
actually went to the center once.
Okay.
So I went to the center to see where exactly the center was. How do I get to the center exactly? Like it was in the topmost floor. How do I get to the topmost floor? If there's a lift, like all those, like I know these are very small, like almost sounds like an OCD sort of a thing. But like, if you can do these things, if you can just do these, because it helps you. It basically puts you, these are the things I can expect.
No, no,
So
it's
minimize
I
as many surprises as possible.
yeah, true, true. And I think I completely agree. Like definitely a risk-averse strategy is a better way to succeed than, actually getting those surprises on the first your
Yeah.
test date, especially, right? So sort of what would be that one thing that you've learned from these 6 months, 5 months journey, to be honest, that you were that something that is stuck by you and it would be you feel that would be beneficial for the other GMAT test takers also.
Like if anyone's working with any of the course providers or like however you're working, right, stick
Yeah.
to your strategy.
Hmm.
Don't try to copy someone else's strategy. uh,
Yes.
I mentioned mine, it worked for me, does not mean you guys have to stick to it. But
Yes.
like whatever works for you,
Hmm.
like customize uh course providers courses for your sort of a format, like whatever works best for you. Like whenever you want to start, you do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would like the one thing I would suggest is maintain a routine. It helps a
Hmm.
lot. It helps a lot because you're like from in the morning 7 to 9, you are gonna study. Whatever you're gonna do, like whatever it's there, you are gonna study.
Yeah. True.
So that routine really helps.
Yeah.
And at the same time, as I mentioned, right, that Murphy's law in Inception, like whatever can go wrong will go wrong. If you
True.
think of in that sort of a way, like try to prepare yourself as much as possible for anything that you can think of.
True.
It
True.
just helps.
Yeah. So, sort of, I don't think we could have wrapped up the interview in a much better way, because it does make sense that you need to prepare yourself for the worst come worst
Yeah.
situations, right? You need to be up there, you need to up your game. And I think it really worked out for you as well. So, thank you for your time, Saurav, and thank you for joining
Awesome.
in yesterday.
Thank you. Thank you so much.